Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Bill, and I'm here with my son Jackson, and this is SSWS Sports.
That stands for sports, and, well, sports. Basically, how this is going to work, we're going to have an episode every Wednesday and Sunday. Sundays are going to be the recaps of the week. Wednesday is going to be something different, also about sports, always about sports. 24 episodes in one season. This is just going to be a sports podcast for now.
Any specific sports we're going to talk about, or all of them?
So we're going to try to base it on mostly baseball, football, NHL, basketball, and soccer. Not NHL, but you get it.
Yeah, I get that. That sounds pretty cool. So this is a father-son podcast. We're going to try and do our first episode here. We got some new equipment. We're really pumped to come out and give you some stuff. Today's first episode is going to be about the Pro Bowl, 2019 Pro Bowl. And
Held in Orlando.
Yeah, I don't know why they call it the 2019 Pro Bowl. I assume it's because it's held in 2019, but it's actually the 2018 season. So let's go ahead.
I don't like that they counted it as part of I just think it's weird.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's weird. Jackson thinks it's weird. All right, so let's get started. So first, I guess we'll talk about the AFC. And who's the starters for the AFC?
The starter for the AFC. Well, let's just go over quarterbacks, and we'll start with the AFC quarterbacks.
All right, who's the AFC quarterback?
We have Patrick Mahomes, rookie from the Kansas City Chiefs, has played a great season. Let's take a look at some of his stats. He
50 TDs. He led the league. Crushed in the league in TDs, right? He had 50 of them.
He did amazing this year, especially being a rookie. But, yeah, I just think that he was a really good improvement to the team, especially getting rid of Alex Smith, who was very inconsistent with his quarterback. Went 5-0 and then went 6-5.
But Mahomes really was the guy this year. I think probably MVP. I mean, what a year. You had the highest passer rating. Just a stud all the way around, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know about MVP. He's going to definitely be a candidate. I think Drew Brees is honestly going to win the MVP because, I think when it came down to the end of the season, Kansas City started falling apart a little.
Yeah, a little bit.
But
they had a little bit of trouble at the running back position, I think.
Let's not talk about Kareem Hunt. He was on my fantasy team, and then
I think he was on everybody's fantasy team.
Really? Yeah.
So this is for me after Mahomes is where it drops off. Phillip Rivers and Tom Brady were the other two quarterbacks. Mahomes is going to be the starter, but I don't know. Phillip Rivers to me has always been an average quarterback. He has never won a Super Bowl, so I think
this could be the year.
Well, this could be the year, but my thoughts are that there possibly was some other quarterbacks that could have taken over for him this year. I really liked Roethlisberger. I know people are always down on him, but he did have the most passing yards this year with 552-19 or something. Also, Luck. What about Andrew Luck?
Andrew Luck started out 1-5, so again, very inconsistent. I just think coming back from that injury, he started off slow, but then came with a big push through the middle of the season.
He won? Was it 11 in a row?
So he won 10 out of 9.
Yeah, 10 out of 9.
I don't know how many in a row necessarily.
But yeah, really strong. I really like Luck. I like how he's come back from his shoulder injury. Looks real good. So
I picked them to be 4-12 this season.
But Tom Brady, obviously you can't ignore Tom Brady. Again, probably looking to be the favorite for the Super Bowl.
I don't think that's true. I just think the Patriots have the worst roster they may have ever had going into the playoffs in the Tom Brady era.
You can't get out good old Tom.
But I know they just have such good playoff luck. But I mean, I just don't think. I think they could even lose to the Chargers this week, but that's a bold prediction.
No, that's. Listen, I think that there's been a lot of talk. I think Phillip Rivers is talking it up. He's trying to really create a pretty big rivalry there, and hopefully psych out Tom Brady. I'd like to see that. I think everybody would like to see some new blood in the Super Bowl.
And this could be Tom Brady's last season. I don't think it will. I think next year will be it. But
yeah, Tom Brady. You probably have it up there, but I think TDs. He didn't have many TDs.
Let me go back to his.
Yeah, check it out because I think his TD count was pretty low this year compared to.
I remember looking at his stats earlier. And
not good, right? Not typical Tom Brady stuff.
The reason why he made it to the Pro Bowl, I think that everybody's trying to get his career pushed so he can get into the Hall of Fame. He's going to get into the Hall of Fame. The cheating
yeah.
thing maybe might hold him back.
He's a Super Bowl 5-time
even
winner.
when he wasn't cheating, he still was great. But let's just take a look at his 2018 stats. This year didn't lead the league in anything. He only had 29 touchdowns. This isn't great. That's out of the past 10 years, it's a career low.
Wow. Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, there's no question about it. That love affair with him and Belichick is over, and we're hopefully gonna see a new crown champion. I mean, even though the Eagles won last year, they were close with Brady. But heading over to the NFC, looking at the quarterbacks, I think they got this right this year with Drew Brees.
Aaron Rodgers, no.
Yeah, see, this is a tough one for me because you got a guy like Matt Ryan who didn't make it, who had 35 passing touchdowns, had a high passer rating. He just plays for a loser of a team in Atlanta.
Yeah, the reason why I think I mean he still made the AFC. The NFC quarterback spot, not the spot, but he made it in the Pro Bowl. Even going 9-6-1, pretty bad season. That's one of the worst of his career.
Who's that? Matt Ryan?
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, listen.
Record sometimes doesn't count. Like how they say in baseball, win and loss really doesn't count. But I could see how he made it. But I think Dak Prescott or Mitchell Trubisky.
Well, Trubisky, I like that. I think there's no no putting down Drew Brees. He's definitely the starting quarterback for the NFC.
Oh yeah,
Jared Goff had a great season. I think a lot of the Rams' last few games were not that great. I think that him and Gurley and those guys really were exposed a bit. Goff, I think got in on the strength of the first 2/3 of the season, so pretty good. But
yeah, you take a look at some of his games in Week 11 against Kansas City, the 54-51 game.
Oh wow, that was unbelievable.
That was a great game. Yeah.
Yeah. The other one, Russell Wilson. I mean, what about Russell? Well, he had 35 touchdowns.
Yeah. I always forget about Russell Wilson when we talk about NFC quarterbacks. But back to the Rams real quick. So from Week 9 on, all three of their losses came. All three of their losses came from Week 9 on. So
yeah, they just didn't really seem to. They got outplayed a couple times. I guess what is it? The Eagles beat them in a
New
pretty
Orleans
close game.
Beat them. Chicago beat them.
Oh, that's right, Chicago. So yeah, I mean, listen. You say what you want. That's a good team. They're going to be trouble in the playoffs. I think they're rested. They're well and ready to go.
Yeah, Todd Gurley hopefully will bring it in. Speaking about Todd Gurley, let's go over to him. Let's go to the running backs. Here we got Todd Gurley, probably one of the best players in the league right now. So let's just take a look at some of his games. He's had 2-3 touchdown games, one against Arizona. Again, Arizona is not looking the way it was. Remember David Johnson? I don't know what happened to him.
That team's a disaster.
3-13. They got the first overall pick for this draft.
Yeah, I mean Gurley. I mean the thing about this, the NFC running backs is you have probably the three best running backs in the league on this team, in Saquon Barkley, Gurley, and Elliott. I mean, there's no arguing that. One of the big, I think, in my opinion, one of the biggest people snubbed this year, Christian McCaffrey, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he had a ton. I mean, although he's definitely going to be a force in the league. He should have, but who do you take out? Do you take out Barkley? Do you take out Elliott? Do you take out these guys? You just can't do it.
They definitely deserved those spots. Let's take a look at Christian McCaffrey's stats, as Dad was talking about. He had 1,098 yards. He had 7 touchdowns. So
one thing about him, I think he had the most total touchdowns, because I think nobody else caught the ball out of the backfield for touchdowns like he did. Saquon had a few, and I know that Elliott had a few, but nothing close to McCaffrey. I think he was the best all-around running back. But again, it's hard to argue with Gurley, Elliott, and Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, what a year!
Yeah, really. A little biased because we're Giants fans, but
full disclosure.
Full disclosure, we are New York fans, so get ready for some biased episodes coming up.
All right. Well, what about so on the AFC, this is where you look at it, and to me, it's a little bit weaker in the category.
Let's take a look
James Conner,
Melvin
Gordon. Philip Lindsay, wow. You talk about a sleeper getting on there. This is a guy
Yeah.
who really, that Broncos team was terrible.
They were good at the start, actually. They were like 3-2 or 3-3. I did like the Broncos team at the start. I had one of their running backs, Devontae Freeman, but I just think they totally just fell at the end.
I think there's some organizational problems there. I think with John Elway, it's just not going the way they had thought. But listen, I mean, definitely a young player who looks like he'll be pretty good over the next couple years.
What's their name?
Who's that?
The quarterback, Case Keenum.
No, Case Keenum.
I love Case Keenum because the Minneapolis Miracle. It's almost hitting its year anniversary. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I remember watching that live.
It's hard to argue with James Conner. Obviously, the big issue with Le'Veon Bell not playing.
I feel bad for anybody who drafted him on his fantasy team.
Yeah, I mean, but he had a great year. I think he had the most yards. But listen, I think most of the expectation was Le'Veon Bell was going to play. He didn't. James Conner did a great job stepping in and deserves the Pro Bowl spot. Melvin Gordon.
Wow.
Listen, the guy played 12 games. He missed 4 games and still had 10 touchdowns, and I think would have probably led the league had he played every game.
Yeah, and he's might be even missing the divisional round, which is not great for the Chargers. But yeah, James Conner, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers had a rough season. Le'Veon Bell left. They had a few injury problems. Also, now Antonio Brown will probably be getting traded after. Weren't they best friends or something? What happened?
Yeah, well, I think once the team starts losing and they start not making playoffs is when they start to fall apart. I mean, friends or not, when you're not winning, just doesn't work the same. So
they really fell off. They were 13-3 last year, and now they're 9-6-1.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely a down year for the Steelers. Let's move on over to wide receivers. If we start in the AFC and look at the starting wide receivers, you have DeAndre Hopkins from Houston, Tyreek Hill, Antonio Brown, Keenan Allen, and Juju Smith-Schuster. Pretty interesting to see that there's 2 Steelers out there.
I think they have the most Pro Bowlers actually.
No,
they have
6. That's pretty good. Good stat.
Even with the 9-6 season, they did really good.
Yeah, and I mean, but so you got those guys. I don't think you can argue with either one of those. DeAndre Hopkins, real solid. Keenan Allen, definitely, real solid. And Tyreek Hill, who I think Tyreek Hill, in my estimation, is the best guy in the AFC. Definitely a down year towards the end of the year. I think they started really solid.
Let's just take a look at his stats. I'm on DeAndre Hopkins, but let's move over to Tyreek Hill on both of our fantasy teams, right?
Yeah, he was. He was good for us for definitely 2/3 of the year.
The Cheetah Ty Freak. That's his nicknames. So let's take a look at the start of the year. 2-1, and then he had 3 games with 0 touchdowns in the first 5 weeks. Then he had a 3-touchdown games against the New England Patriots. He still lost that game. They were undefeated at that point. But yeah, he started really slumping. He had 4 games without a touchdown, but still, I think he still definitely deserves that spot. Had a great season.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill is definitely one of the best. No question about that.
I feel like Kareem Hunt and Tyreek Hill were a good pair.
They were, and I think you take Hunt out of the mix, you definitely take away a weapon on that team, and it's definitely a shame. So, but looking at Juju Smith-Schuster, I think he's going to be the guy now in Pittsburgh once Antonio Brown is traded, and he will be traded. There's no question about that.
There's really no question on that one.
I think that's a done deal. So he will definitely be the man there, and I think he's going to put up Antonio Brown-like numbers in the next season or two.
And then James Conner, he's young. He's young.
Yeah,
so
no question about it.
So I think they could have a chance even if Antonio Brown leaves, and now Le'Veon Bell might not even come back. So, yeah, it's just going to have to all play out in Pittsburgh.
All right, good. So looking at the NFC in terms of wide receivers, we have Julio Jones,
my boy,
Michael Thomas, Adam Thielen, Devontae Adams, and Mike Evans. Really a great crop of receivers on the NFC side. Adam Thielen, I can't say enough about him. Again, he had a rough, last part of the season, last few games.
Yeah, take a look at his stats right here.
He was, probably the unsung hero in terms of wide receivers this year. Really, what a great year.
He didn't have any 2+ touchdown games. Still, really spread it out. So he was very consistent this season.
Yeah, he was. And I mean, with the new quarterback too, and Kirk Cousins, who
had a lot of 100 yards games,
Yeah.
very consistent. But towards the end of the season, you can really see one touchdown, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then his yards fell. It went from 125 to 28 to 70 to 19 to 80 to 38. So at the end, started falling to an inconsistency, but still played 16 games this season.
Gotta love Michael Thomas too. Michael Thomas out, in New Orleans. I mean, you talk about a pleasure for a wide receiver to get balls from Drew Brees. It's a pretty big deal, and Drew spreads it around a bit. So for Michael Thomas having the numbers he had, I think it was well warranted to have his
also
MVP.
Fell towards the end of the season. A
Yeah.
lot of people are falling, I guess. I don't know.
Long season.
The end of the season was weird, actually.
Yeah, it was a strange NFL. Listen, every year I'll tell you the NFL for me gets stranger and stranger in terms of how these games turn out and how they all work. So
like, remember at the start when Tampa Bay were 2-0 when they beat New Orleans and the Eagles.
Yeah, so I mean, also looking at Devontae Adams and Mike Evans, no slouches there. Devontae Adams, listen, in a team that was really falling apart from the outside in, I think did okay. There's really nobody else to throw to there, so I think he was really the main guy. And Mike Evans, to me is a disappointment. That is a team that, Deshaun Jackson had some big games there, but I think Mike Evans was expected to be the big guy. Did make the Pro Bowl and well-deserved, but I just think he's a receiver that could be a lot better.
Yeah, because I just think Tampa Bay, they always seem to start out solid, and they just fall towards the end. Because Fitzpatrick just can never connect it.
Yeah, no, he was. They kind of went through the Winston, Jameis Winston.
They did the Bengals.
Yeah, and they went back and forth, and they couldn't decide on a quarterback. So yeah, I mean, tough for a wide receiver to get used to different quarterbacks, but still not too bad.
R.I.P. Bengals coach. Yeah. He's not dead, but I just feel like he was with there for how many 15, 16
tons
years?
Of years, and they still haven't filled as of
they were
this podcast.
8-8, 7-9.
Yeah, they haven't filled that position.
He made the playoffs 2 times in those 15 years.
So rounding out the positions here, we're only doing offense, by the way. I think both Jackson and I are more offensive guys, and the defenses can be left to another podcast to go over. But for us, we're looking at offense.
I will look at Khalil Mack though. And Aaron Donald.
Just a beast. So
I'll look at the big names.
So looking at moving on to tight end, this is an easy one I think for both AFC and NFC. You have Travis Kelce, who in my mind is the best tight end in the league. Better, kind of took over where Gronkowski left off, and
I think he's trying to fill that gap that Kareem Hunt left. Played all 16 games. Had a few two touchdown games, but he had a lot of yards, so he was pretty consistent.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't say enough about a guy who is up there with wide receivers in terms of receptions, in terms of touchdowns and things like that. I mean, he was up in the top 5, I think, or definitely top 10. In terms of all all receivers, so can't say enough about him. Eric Ebron, another guy in Indy who really helped Andrew Luck get his get his feet off the ground and sort of get back into winning ways. And
he gave him a good start of the season, but I mean they even went 1-5. How many games did they win in a row? They won 5, and then they won another 5.
Yeah, so I mean, and he had a lot to do with that, and I think he's also a great blocker. It's good to have a guy that you can rely on both sides of the ball. So, well, not both sides of the ball, but both during catching and also on run play. So definitely a good tight end. And then you get to the NFC, where in my estimation, a close second, Zach Ertz and George Kittle. I mean, Ertz had the most receptions, I think, this year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. It's either the most receptions or something along those lines, but really helped the Eagles when they needed them. I think there was a more of a idea to use him when with Carson Wentz. That's all he threw the ball to.
Really, yeah.
And
I know all the Eagles players because we went to our aunt's house and they have all the sports memorabilia.
No, they had,
and they have all the players. It's insane. And Zach Ertz is everywhere.
Yeah, no, Zach Ertz is was solid this year, and I think it's nice now that you see Foles sort of spreading the ball around, and that way I think Ertz becomes
10-month
more,
hibernation.
he becomes more effective when you have a guy catching the ball, not every time, but when you need him down at the goal line and whatnot. So really pretty awesome. And, this is pretty much rounding out our AFC and NFC Pro Bowl. We are looking forward to watching it. Again, I think there's some folks that were probably snubbed. I think people like Alvin Kamara, Derek.
Oh, wait, he's not in there?
No, he's not. The other guy who's not in there,
I didn't even notice.
Was kind of a bum for the first half of the year, and then it was amazing was Derrick Henry. If he had kept that up, he had 12 touchdowns, and they were all pretty late. He had 1 4-touchdown game, which I think it was on Monday night against who was that? I don't remember now, but
wait, what's his name?
Derrick Henry, and he was real solid, and missed it. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, Christian McCaffrey, and he really, to me, was a guy that got, he went up against 3 other guys that were probably the best in the league by far, in Gurley, Elliott, and Barkley. So, but this has been fun, man. I'm glad. Have you had a good time so far?
Yeah, and we'll see you all back on Sunday for we'll tell you all our predictions for the divisional round, and we'll do a bunch of other stuff recapping the week. That's just how it's going to work. So yeah, Pro Bowl.
Yeah, so I think this is, what is Wednesday, like Free Topic Wednesday, where we just pick a topic and talk about it. And, I guess on Sundays or Saturdays we'll do where it's, more of a recap of the week and looking ahead into the week. So we hope that you enjoyed this first podcast, the inaugural podcast of the SSWS. What is it?
SSWS.
Yeah, see, I don't even know the name of our podcast, but you know what?
Yeah.
Who cares? We're going to get better. We're going to get stronger, and we appreciate you listening.
Okay, before we leave, AFC or NFC in the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, well, that's a wow. How do we not? Yeah, I'm going NFC too. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to play well, but I think at the end of the day,
he's in the AFC.
That's what I said. He's going to play well, but I think at the end of the day, NFC too strong in the running game, too strong at wide receiver, tough defense, and again has more of the talent. I think so.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I honestly think NFC. I think they have better running backs. Not great on the better wide receivers, not great on the running backs. I think they have better quarterbacks. I think their defense is better, especially with Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald. So I just think that they'll definitely win the game. I don't think they'll honestly crush the game, but I don't think it's going to be lopsided. But I just really think it's kind of going to...
Well, now listen, I agree with you, but the real question is who really cares about the Pro Bowl?
Yeah.
When it's not like anything's decided on it, so I really don't care. Yeah, but it's fun to watch, and it's in Hawaii, and I guess those guys get a nice.
It's in Orlando.
Wasn't it Hawaii? It was always Hawaii.
It's in Orlando, Dad.
No, listen, I'm sure it is, but
okay, we need to argue about this.
Okay, listen, when I was a youngster. No, when I was young, they were usually always, that was the whole point. They were in Hawaii because they got to go.
Well, nobody cares about Hawaii anymore.
I care about Hawaii. I'm a big 50th state person.
Okay, I need some clarification.
We're going to clarify this. So I have always thought that they were in Hawaii, and I don't know when that stopped. What do you
Camping World Stadium, Orlando.
Okay, no, I know it's in Orlando. I'm just saying, maybe we'll set this up for another podcast, the origin of where...
Yeah, why did it happen?
Who cares?
Hawaii, Orlando.
Who cares?
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, that would not be a good episode. I think we'd just lose.
All right, everybody. That's on that note, we're going to take off. We appreciate you guys listening, and I look forward to more podcasts in the future.
See you on Sunday.
Yep.